Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayashtipaya Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, the first step in God realization. Text number 7 onwards. Now Shukdev Goswami is further speaking. Prayana munyo rajan nivritta vidishedata nargunyastha ramante sma gunanu katnete. O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. Now here Shukdev Goswami is saying in the verse, Prayana. Prayana means mainly or almost. Means there are some transcendentalists who don't like to describe the glories of the Lord, especially the Gyanis and the yogis. So mostly the people, mostly the sages who were sitting there in that assembly, not all of them, still not all of them, but mostly they like to describe the glories of the Lord, who are above the regulative principles and restrictions. Why Shukdev Goswami used this word prayan? I mean, I can go fast forward. Many times people complain or they criticize about the position of Srimati Radharani. That who is Radharani? She's not mentioned in any scriptures. Of course, she is mentioned in the scriptures by six Goswamis or the other Goswami literatures, but not in the main scriptures. Especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, we don't find the name of Srimati Radharani in any of the shlokas. One reason was Shukdev Goswami knew there are so many people here, sages, although they are transcendentalists, but they are not qualified to hear the name of Srimad. They won't be able to names of Radharani in Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, another reason was that because he is a pure devotee of Srimati Radharani, if he had taken the name of Radharani, or if he had even thought of, because even the thought of Radharani would have put him in trance. He would have gone in trance for 6 months. And he knew his service is to finish Bhagavatam, speaking Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj had only 7 days left. And if he had gone in trance for 6 months, then who would have spoken Bhagavatam? Not just Srimati Radharani, Shukdev Goswami didn't even take the name of any major gopis, any gopis in fact, in the whole Bhagavatam. Even in the 10th canto, the Rasliya chapters, he only said Gopya. He only said gopis said that. Which gopis said what? Of course, the later on acharyas have described. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they have described which gopi is Shukdev Goswami referring to. But Shukdev Goswami did not take the name of gopi. And especially Srimati Radharani. One of the reasons was these sages, some of these sages were not qualified. So he was so careful. So that's why he's saying, Prayana, almost, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. And what happens with the glories of the Lord? That we have said in the previous verse, Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma Parisnishtaya. Janma Lava Param Pumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Of course, Srila Prabhupada translated it, Ante Narayan Smriti is at the end of life. But Ante also means the perfection. Means, in the end, the perfection is Narayan Smriti, to remember Narayan, to remember Krishna. Just like when we say Vedant, Vedant doesn't mean the finishing, let's finish the Vedas. It means the conclusion of the Vedas. So the conclusion of life is to remember Krishna. And how to do that? By describing the glories of the Lord. Purport. The topmost transcendentalist is a liberated soul and is therefore not within the purview of the regulative principles. A neophyte who is intended to be promoted to the spiritual plane is guided by the spiritual master under regulative principles. He may be compared to a patient who is treated by various restrictions under medical jurisdiction. Generally, liberated souls also take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities. As mentioned above, since Narayan, Hari, the personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation, his form and attributes are not material. The topmost transcendentalists or the liberated souls realize him by advanced experience or transcendental knowledge, and therefore they take pleasure in the discussion of the transcendental qualities of the Lord's pastimes. So, mostly or mainly, the transcendentalists, they take pleasure in describing the qualities, they're talking about the pastimes of the Lord, because the pastimes are so sweet, pastimes are so powerful. But not everybody will have the inclination or the taste for describing these qualities or pastimes. Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, declares that his appearance and activities are all divyam or transcendental. A common man who is under the spell of material energy takes it for granted that the Lord is like one of us, and therefore he refuses to accept the transcendental nature of the Lord's form, name, etc. The topmost transcendentalist is not interested in anything material, and his taking interest in the matter of the Lord's activities is definite proof that the Lord is not like one of us in the material world. In the Vedic literatures also it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is one, but that he is engaged in his transcendental pastimes in the company of his unalloyed devotees, and that simultaneously he is present as a supersoul, an expansion of Baladev, in the heart of all living entities. Therefore, the highest perfection of transcendental realization is to take pleasure in hearing and describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and not in merging into his impersonal Brahman existence, for which the impersonalist monist aspires. So this is the highest perfection of life. And this is the reason Shukdev Goswami has appeared at that stage, in that setting, where Parikshit Maharaj, again, a pure devotee of the Lord, is about to leave the body. And when he asked this question to all the sages, everybody had different opinion. That's why this word comes, Prayan, here. Everybody had different opinion of what to do. And then when Shukdev Goswami came, everybody honored him and they put him on the main seat. And this is what he is giving his conclusion, because he knows all the scriptures, he knows everything. So his conclusion was Ante Narayan Smriti, or even before that, he said, talk about Krishna, one who is, this is the topmost religion, to talk about Krishna. And now he is saying they take the topmost transcendentalists, they take pleasure in describing and hearing the pastimes of the Lord, the glories of the Lord. But there are others who are not the topmost transcendentalists, but are in a lower status and who do not take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Rather, they discuss such activities of the Lord formally with the aim of merging into His existence. So there are some who don't like, because not everybody is qualified for this also. Shukdev Goswami, later on the verses that will come, Shukdev Goswami spoke this Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj because Parikshit Maharaj was qualified. Not everybody is qualified to hear Bhagavatam, speak on Bhagavatam or to hear Bhagavatam properly. So that's why people don't have taste for this. Text 8. Idam Bhagavatam nam Puranam Brahm Samitam Adhitaman Dvaparado Pitur Dvapayan Adaham. At the end of Dwapar Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas, from my father Srila Dvapayan Vyasadeva. So now he is speaking about himself, that I also studied this Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam. But when he said, Idam Bhagavatam now, Idam like this, he wasn't carrying the book Bhagavatam like we have to carry. And if he had to carry like 12 cantos, that would be a big thing. And he wasn't carrying anything. He was running around naked. He didn't have anything in his hands. So when he says Idam Bhagavatam now, means he learned Bhagavatam from his father, Ved Vyasji, and he just remembered everything. Athitvan Dvaparado Pitur Dvapayan Adaham means I learned, I studied. He said studied, but he learned. The word comes here, Adhitavan. Adhitavan means he understood, he learned, not just studied, because there was no book Bhagavatam there, which is equal to all the Vedas. Because what is Bhagavatam? It is mentioned like in the previous chapters when Narad Muni appeared and he gave the instructions to Vyasadeva that you have written everything about Karma Kand, Gyan Kand, everything else, but you haven't glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why you're not satisfied. And by that time, Ved Vyasji had compiled all the Vedas, Itihas, Puran, Upanishads, everything, and Vedanta Sutras. And then he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam is considered as summary or the commentary on Vedanta Sutras. So means it has the essence of all the Vedas and much more, obviously. Not just the Vedas, but it has the essence and much more. That's why it says, which is equal to all the Vedas. That's why this Bhagavatam is very important. The statement made by Srila Shukdev Goswami that the topmost transcendentalist, who is beyond the jurisdiction of regulations and restrictions, mainly takes to the task of hearing about and glorifying the personality of Godhead, is verified by his personal example. Shukdev Goswami, being a recognized liberated soul and the topmost transcendentalist, was accepted by all of the topmost sages present in the meeting during the last 7 days of Maharaj Parikshit. He cites from the example of his life that he himself was attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord. And he studied Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father, Sri Dvapayan Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam, or for that matter, any other scientific literature, cannot be studied at home by one's own intellectual capacity. It cannot be studied like that. It has to be learned from a bona fide guru. Medical books of anatomy or physiology are available in the market, but no one can become a qualified medical practitioner simply by reading such books at home. One has to be admitted to the medical college and study the books under the guidance of learned professors. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of the science of Godhead, can only be learned by studying it at the feet of a realized soul like Srila Vyasadeva. Although Shukdev Goswami was a liberated soul from the day of his birth, from the very day of his birth, he still had to take lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father, Vyasadeva, who compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam under the instructions of another great soul, Sri Narad Muni. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed a learned Brahman to study Bhagavatam from a person Bhagavat. It's said there was a Brahman who came to Jagannath Puri and he wanted to hear the pastimes of Krishna from you. Ramanandrai was busy decorating some Devdasis, very young teenage Devdasis, to perform in a play for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath. So this Brahman, he got bewildered seeing Ramanand Rai doing these activities. And Ramanand Rai, there was a reason Mahaprabhu sent him to Ramanand Rai. Ramanand Rai was literally, he was bathing these teenage girls himself and putting makeup on them, putting clothes on them, and preparing them to act in that play. And this Brahman, he got bewildered seeing Ramanand Rai doing these activities. He came back to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, "Did you learn Bhagavad? Did you hear some pastimes of Krishna?" Then he said, "No," because he was doing these activities. Mahaprabhu said, "No, go back to him." And then when he went back, Ramanand Rai, then he was free. He did the practice with these girls. And then Ramanand Rai sat down and taught him the pastimes of Krishna. And then this Brahma was completely satisfied. So Mahaprabhu was making a point that Ramanand Rai, he's not in this material worldly conception of life. He's completely beyond it. So even if he's touching the bodies of these girls, for him it was service of Jagannath. That's why he was doing, nothing else. And Mahaprabhu also wanted to make a point that Bhagavatam has to be learned from a person Bhagavat. Bhagavat Padya Gya Bhagavat Sthane means from a person Bhagavat we can listen, we can learn this book Bhagavatam. Otherwise we can. Of course, we are very much fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has written his commentaries. So even if we are studying Bhagavatam at home, we are hearing actually from Srila Prabhupada. And so many speakers are available in Vaishnava speakers. So we can learn from them. Of course, everybody's realizations will be different, but slowly we can make advancement. Srimad Bhagavatam is based on the transcendental name, form, attributes, pastimes, entourage, and variegatedness of the Supreme Person. And it is spoken by the incarnation of the personality of God, Srila Vyasadeva. Pastimes of the Lord are executed in cooperation with his pure devotees, and consequently, historical incidences are mentioned in this great literature because they are related to Krishna. It is called Brahm Samhitam because it's a sound representative of Lord Krishna, like the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a sound incarnation of the Lord because it is spoken by the Supreme Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam is a sound representative of the Lord because it was spoken by the incarnation of the Lord about the activities of the Lord. So it was spoken by the incarnation means we can say that Srila Vyasadeva, he's in literary incarnation of Krishna, and he compiled Bhagavatam. Or Shukdev Goswami can be considered as incarnation because he was given the special powers to speak the message of Bhagavatam. So he can be considered as Shakti-Avish. As stated in the Desire Tree and the natural commendation on the Brahma Sutras, the topmost philosophical thesis on the subject matter of Brahman. Vyasadeva appeared at the end of Dwapar Yuga as the son of Satyavati, and therefore the word Dwapar Ado, or the beginning of Dwapar Yuga, in this context means just prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga. The logic of this statement, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, is comparable to that of calling the upper portion of the tree the beginning. The root of the tree is the beginning of the tree. But the common knowledge, the upper portion of the tree is accepted. Srila Jiva Goswami has clarified the word Dwapar Ado. Use that Dwapar Ado. Ado means the beginning. But actually it means the end of the. It's like if you see a tree, the tree is sometimes considered as it's the beginning of the tree. But actually the beginning is the root, which we don't see. So Jiva Goswami is trying to make us understand these contradictions. Text 9. Parinishthito api uttam shloka. O saintly king, I was perfectly in transcendence, yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. The absolute truth is realized as Brahman at the first instance by philosophical speculation, later as the supersoul by further progress of transcendental knowledge. But if, by the grace of the Lord, an impersonalist is enlightened by the superior statements of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is also converted into a transcendental devotee of the personality of Godhead. With a poor fund of knowledge, we cannot adjust to the idea of the personality of the absolute truth. And the personal activities of the Lord are deplored by the less intelligent impersonalists. But reasons and arguments, together with the transcendental process of approaching the absolute truth, help even the staunch impersonalist to become attracted by the personal activities of the Lord. So actually what had happened, Shukdev Goswami, Srila Vyasadeva, first he prayed to Krishna to send a son who can speak Bhagavatam, who can give out the message of Bhagavatam to people in general, because he could see what will happen in Kali Yuga. So by mercy of Krishna, Shukdev Goswami appeared in the womb of wife of Vyasadeva. But Shukdev Goswami remained in the womb of his mother for 12 years. He did not come out. And Vyasadeva would talk to him, what is it? You come out, you have such an important duty to perform. You are sitting inside the womb of your mother, you're giving her pain. And why are you not coming out? And Shukdev Goswami was saying, no, I will not come out because I'm very much afraid of Maya. Maya will capture me if I come out. And Vyasadeva gave him assurance, no, Maya will not capture you. You have heard Srimad Bhagavatam. You're a transcendentalist. And he still would not come out. Then Vyasadeva asked him, okay, who should give you assurance that you will learn and then you come out, that you get convinced? He said, let Lord Krishna come and give me the assurance. So Krishna himself gave the assurance to Shukdev Goswami that you will not fall in Maya. Now please come out of the womb. They didn't perform what is that called? When a baby is forced to come out, what surgery is called? It's C-section, right? C-section. So they didn't perform C-section on the mother of Shukdev Goswami to force the baby to come out. So, and Shukdev Goswami, as soon as he came out, he left the ashram of Vyasadeva. He said, if I stay here, my father, because he's a grahastha, he'll ask me to get married and have wife and kids. So I don't want to stay here, I'm leaving. And he left. He left, and Vyasadeva ran after him, crying, come back, come back. You have to learn full Bhagavatam and you have to speak, give out the message. But he still won't. Shukdev Goswami left. He went into the forest. So after a while, Vyasadeva, he had some more disciples. So he sent some of his disciples singing the glories of Krishna, the few verses from Bhagavatam. So one verse was Aho Bakiyam Stan Kalkuta, means who is more merciful than Krishna, that he gave the position of mother to Putana who came to kill him. And second verse was Varhapida, means describing the beauty of Krishna. And these disciples will go everywhere and they speak these verses, and they sing these verses very nicely. And somehow Shukdev Goswami heard these two verses. And he called these disciples. He said, who are you? Whoa, these are beautiful verses. Who taught you all these verses? And the disciples said, oh, we have our guru, his ashram is nearby. Why don't you come? He knows many more verses like this. He knows 18,000 verses. So Shukdev Goswami, then he came, and then when he saw Vyasadeva, obviously, his father, and Vyasadeva was happy to receive him and teach him Bhagavatam. And then after learning Bhagavatam, again, Shukdev Goswami left. Then he was roaming around, obviously. And now in this setting he came. And this is what Shukdev Goswami is saying. Okay, when he was born, he was a Brahmavadi. He just could meditate or could relate to the Brahm feature, the Brahm Jyoti feature of the Supreme Lord, impersonal feature. But he converted into a devotee by listening to Bhagavatam. He himself got converted. This is what he's saying. A person like Shukdev Goswami cannot be attracted by any mundane activity. But when such a devotee is convinced by a superior method, he is certainly attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord. The Lord is transcendental, as are his activities. He is neither inactive nor impersonal. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, Radha. Yes, Radha Prabhuji. You have a question?
Yeah, you said that prevention topic because some of them. Is that right? Hello? Are you hearing me, Prabhu?
I'm hearing you, but I'm hearing some other things also. You doing something?
Yeah, I said you were saying that the Shukdev Goswami did not speak about confidential topics because some of the pages were not qualified. So when he speaks about the glory of Krishna, so we have to be similarly. How do we control it? Like we also create so many topics in our lectures, or when we call people to come to attend the classes. So we have so many different types of people, and we know definitely they are not inclined to hear about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. But sometimes while listening to Radha, you spread over Radha and Krishna. So should we be very careful in the question?
Oh yes, we have to be very careful because first of all, we can only convince others to the level that we are convinced. to the level that we have realizations. If I just speak theoretically, some pastimes of Radha and Krishna, of course they will be very good to hear, but I myself I don't have any convictions about the or the realizations of those pastimes. So firstly, the people are not qualified, and the speaker is also not qualified to speak on those intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And then our realizations are not matching with that. So it's better to avoid. But yes, sometimes some pastimes which are very common to hear, we can speak, but not the real intimate pastimes. We try not to. Like Prabhupada, we can see from Prabhupada's example how many pastimes of Radha and Krishna he spoke of. Hardly any.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami himself is like, he did not take the name of Radha because he himself is so at his time.
I lost you after when you said but.
Also because the students were not qualified.
Your voice is breaking.
Did not take the name of Radharani because the narration of Bhagavatam, because we didn't want to go into a trance. But is there any other reason like we didn't want to speak about Radharani because the teachers were not qualified?
I only know of two reasons. One was some of the sages were not qualified, and second, he would have gone into trance by speaking about Srimati Radharani. I don't know any third reason.
The second reason is also, that's what I'm asking. The second is also not only just because he is there in the trance, but he also some of these
there's a whole lot of disturbance behind you, and it's hard to hear. I'm sorry.
separately write
Okay. Thank you, brother. Any other question or comment? So I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful Monday. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.